Philadelphia is steep in broadcast history. From the early pioneering days of broadcasting in the 1920s to today, Philadelphia has always been at the forefront. The Delaware Valley has been home to some of the best local programming in the country, starting with the early soap operas and children's shows to pioneering the best news formats in the country. Much of it all began right here. From radio announcers to television personalities, cameramen to directors, these were the broadcasters that burned up the airwaves. These were the pioneers of Philadelphia broadcasting.
Hi, this is Bob Charger, and welcome to another edition of Pioneers of Philadelphia Broadcasting. Today I'm at the studios of More FM 101, and with me are legendary performers of rock and roll from Philadelphia, Danny and the Juniors. I have Frank Maffei and Joe Terry. Guys, it's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
And you know, I've always said before in the years of broadcasting that I've been in Philadelphia radio, playing the vinyl, the CDs, and now the MP3s, your songs just continue forever in oldies radio.
Well, we're glad they do, because it keeps us working.
Well, the folks who know you as Danny the Juniors and myself. But every story has a beginning, and if I may take our viewers to the very beginning, and that very beginning is before you became Danny the Juniors. And I track you down as early as 1954, 1955, when you were known as the Juvenirs.
Right.
So, there had to be an influence somewhere. For me, it was listening to WIBG radio in Philadelphia and Joe Niagara to become a disc jockey, broadcaster. What was your influence to become a singer?
Why don't I let Frank answer that?
All right, well, we were hanging around on the corner. That's what we did back then. And we were listening to Georgie Woods on WDAS, because he was the only one kind of playing rock and roll.
Yes.
And I'm not sure that rock and roll was even the name of it at that point, but I think maybe it was. And we figured, hey, we could do those things like Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers do, because we had already started our singing practice on the corner, but we weren't very good. In fact, some of the neighbors complained.
And did you do this on Friday nights and Saturday nights, or every night on the corner?
Every night of the week we would be there, just singing on the corner, practicing. And we started to get pretty good.
Now, was it that you were discovered by somebody, or did you go to a record company? What happened from the influence of singing on the corner?
Well, a guy named Johnny Madeira lived on that corner. And he had a young child that we were disturbing. So he listened and he told us, you know, guys need to stop at a certain hour. My kid has to go to sleep, but I like you.
Yeah.
He said, and I'm on Capitol Records, was it, Frank?
He was on a subsidiary of Capitol called Prep back in those days.
Right, so he said, you know, I know somebody I think I could take you to who might want to record you. So, you know, we were thrilled, right?
We sure were.
You did some demo work for Capitol then, at that point?
Yeah, he did. He had a release, didn't do very well, but he took us to Artie Singer, who was a vocal coach.
And he eventually became your manager?
No, became our producer.
Producer.
And we sang 4 songs for him. And he liked 2 of the songs, one being Do the Bop, and the other one being Sometimes.
Now, you weren't known as Danny the Juniors at the time. You had another name.
No, Juvenirs.
The
Right?
Juvenirs.
We were called the Juvenirs. How did we come up with that name anyway?
I don't know. I came the last guy in the group.
I see.
I'm the Ringo Starr of this group.
I think one of our other partners in those days, Dave White, came up with the name, and we all liked it. So we said, yeah, we'll be the Juvenirs.
And that's where that began, along with Danny Rapp. So it was you 4 guys who went into the studio and recorded as Juvenirs.
That's right. But before that, there was another guy who I replaced. His name was Artie Scottees. And Artie Scottees had stage fright, like you wouldn't believe. Tell him, Frank.
Yeah, well, we were, you know, Dave was trying to get us to go on stage, which we weren't very anxious to do, you know. But what he did was he went to see the priest at the St. Francis de Sales Church and asked if we could sing a couple of songs up there, and he brought his guitar up and we sang a couple of songs.
At the dance, you know.
Yes.
I was in the audience watching these guys
Okay.
sing, you know.
And the kids seemed to like it, you know. We said, hey, this is not that bad, but the guy he's talking about, Artie, never got over his stage fright, and right after that, he quit.
He quit. Now, you just being a participant in the audience never realized you'd be joining this group.
No.
That's right.
No.
So look how fate happened for you.
But see, Frank and I went to Electric Shop together,
I see.
and we would sing and harmonize in Electric Shop.
Gotcha.
So he said to me, listen, I'm in this group, and this guy just quit. So why don't you come down and audition?
The Ringo Starr.
Yeah, Ringo Starr. Because it was only 6 months later
Yes.
when we made the record.
Sure. So now you have the Juvenirs, and you go into the recording studio, and you now have what they call a demo product, or at least demonstration records, 4 or 6 cuts, you said? 4 cuts.
Right. In
Okay.
actuality, Artie used that demo and sent it around to a lot of people. Paul Anka being one, and who else, Frank? You recall?
I think he tried to shop it to 4 or 5 different record companies for their artists.
And they all turned it down.
And what song was that?
Those Do the Bop.
Oh, so Do the Bop on the Singular label.
Right.
Right, okay, that was the first one sent
So
around.
then he took it to Dick Clark,
Right.
who had just, you know, become big in Philadelphia.
Right, because the song was November, December of '57. Dick just went national in August of that year.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. So he took it to Dick, and Dick said, listen, this song is going to be passé. By the time you get it out, he said, but record hops are springing up all over the country.
Hops, yes.
Why don't you change the title to At the Hop?
And the
And
story
so
was,
and so we
know,
did, yeah.
From Do the Bop, it went to At the Hop. Now there are copies available. I've seen them on eBay and stuff. They're going like $200 for Do the Bop if you can find it. So now the contract with ABC Paramount, how does that come about?
Well, we did the national portion. First, Dick put us on the local portions, and then some acts, you know, couldn't make it
You're saying
So-
during the day you were on Bandstand here in
The Bandstand,
Philadelphia?
yeah.
During the day?
during the
Right.
day. And then he called up and he said, he used to call my house. He said, Joe, can you get the group together because I have an act that's not coming.
Yeah.
And, you know, I need somebody
Yes.
for my national portion.
This is live TV too at
Right.
the time, yeah.
So we grabbed our little sweaters and put them on, and we headed down 15 minutes away from us
Sure.
to 46th and Market
Easy
Street.
to get to, absolutely.
And we did our little At the Hop, and the phone lines lit up
Sure.
like crazy.
Yes.
So, you know, Dick, who had been given half the publishing to this thing,
Yes.
got very excited. And, you know, orders start coming in so fast that Artie Singer couldn't handle it. So Dick, who worked for ABC, took it to ABC, and they gave us an enormous amount of front money.
You had a recording of At the Hop, but it wasn't on ABC yet, but it was like a demo tape or a tape. And then it went to ABC
Then
Paramount.
it went to ABC.
I see.
Right.
Through the help of Dick Clark.
Right,
I see.
exactly.
Okay. Now, what was nice, I heard from DJs way before I began, what they liked about your song was that you had an A and B side. And here in Philadelphia, we had the song called Sometimes When I'm All Alone.
Right.
And DJs would say, well, I would spin At the Hop, and then when I want to slow it down, I'd just flip it over. And that was very big at the record hops for
At
slow
the
sets.
Hop, let's see, when At the Hop was going up to number 1, sometimes was going up to number 26.
Yes.
So we had a two-sided hit.
It was, and just out of the gate, just like that.
Yeah.
So now you, at this moment, with the exposure of Bandstand, you travel all around the country. You go to different
sure.
acts, and the doors just opened up for you.
Absolutely.
So from the time period when you were just watching the group to the time that this moment happened, how much time would that be?
Well, let's see, Dick went national, and we did the national portion, I believe, in October. And by Christmas, it was number 1.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were off and running. We did the Alan Freed Christmas show
Yes.
in New York. over Times Square.
We did the
And-
Patty Page show. We did the Pat Boone show. We did,
Ever on Perry Como?
no, we never.
No, he wasn't much for rock and roll, Perry, for some reason.
No, but we
Yeah.
did get to know Perry later on in life and became
Actually,
very friendly.
Very friendly with Perry, yeah.
Yeah. Perry was like with rock and roll, not so warmed up.
Well, he mellowed. We met him in his early 70s
Yes.
at a golf tournament out in Denver, and he would come every year, and he kind of got to like us. And at night his manager would call up. The night would be over, 9 o'clock. Listen, come on up. Perry wants you to have a drink.
How nice. How
And
nice.
I'd go up and he'd have his pianist there,
Beautiful.
and we'd sing duets together. I mean, he was a lovely, lovely.
Yes, he was. And a Pennsylvania guy, might I add,
Yeah.
too, Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania. Okay, at the Hop, 8 weeks, #1, sometimes when I'm all alone. Now you got to follow it up with something. And to coin the phrase, rock and roll is here to stay, it will never die. And look how many years, and it's still floating. And here you have another top 10.
Yeah, we got it's an anthem.
Yes.
By now, it's an anthem. So, we have two really major records.
And I didn't really believe rock and roll was here to stay. I thought calypso music was going to be the coming thing.
You thought it was a flash in the pan, perhaps?
But it's kind of interesting story how that got started because they wanted something very close to At the Hop. And Joe's father was, well, you better tell this.
Yeah, we were having dinner, me, Dave, my mom and dad, because Dave used to stop at my house. He didn't live very far, so he'd come over and have dinner. And we had some records on, and the B-side of on a specialty label of Little Richard, he had a line in there that said, "Rock and roll is here to stay."
There you go.
And we were complaining, man, because we just came off a long tour, and we'd get up in the morning, you'd stay at these show business hotels.
Sure.
In those days, the vaudeville people, they still had the show business. So the paper would be right down there with the review from the night before. And the whole show, I'm talking Chuck Berry, Little Richard, us, the Everly Brothers, we'd get panned every time we do a show. This music is not going to be around.
Yes.
It's a flash in a pan. It stinks.
It's fat. It's a
So
fat.
my father said, "Why don't you fight back and write a song, Rock and Roll is Here to Stay?"
It'll never die.
And David went home, he wrote the song.
Beautiful.
Bingo.
And of course, again, in the meantime, you had that, and then you followed up with the song "Dottie." Now, was there a personal Dottie that you knew, or was it just a song? Was there a girl in the fan
No.
club or something?
Did you know a Dottie?
I later knew a Dottie very well, but no, not then.
Well, in the meantime, too, that's another beautiful B-side that people seem to like.
Thank you.
Now, your career with ABC Paramount goes from 57 to about 61, 62. And Dick Clark, by that time, diversifies himself away from the music industry. So Swan Records, at that time, the label here in Philadelphia.
Well, actually, it didn't go that far. It went to the end of '59.
Oh, really? Okay.
And because, not to slight the producer, but they saw the writing money coming in.
Right.
And they started to write the songs
Yes.
rather than have Dave write the songs. Now, in the Beatles case, I just read an article. They stood up to their producer and said, we're only recording McCartney
That's right.
and Lennon songs.
They were one of because most had professional songwriters. Most
Right.
acts had professional
And
songwriters.
but we didn't do that. We didn't know to do that. So suddenly we weren't selling records. And ABC was the kind of label that if you weren't selling records, they just moved on to the next act.
Now, Tony Mammarello was involved with Swan Records. Is that correct?
Yes.
He was involved because Dick, I think by July of '60, when they had the payola scandals and all that, Dick had to leave or get out
He
of
had
it.
to divest
He
himself.
divested himself
divested,
from
right.
from the record business. So
Absolutely.
Tony Mammarello took over, and now you fellas are on Swan. And once again, my goodness, you bang them out with 3 or 4 hits in a
3,
row.
4, yeah. That's top 40 records, which were Twistin' USA
Yes.
and Pony Express, Back to the Hop. I
Yes.
mean, a whole bunch of things that we did over there.
Well, that
miles
pony
and
with
miles
Chub,
away.
yeah, with Chubby Checker, the pony, and that was big. You guys had Pony
Yeah,
Express,
Pony
Giddy Up,
Express,
Iowa
yeah.
Silver. The Iowa Silver was that off of the Lone Ranger?
Yeah.
Giddy Up,
Yeah,
Hi Ho
the-
Silver.
In
The
fact,
solo.
the instrumental in that song was part of the Lone Ranger theme, which is the William Tell Overture, I believe.
Yes, yes. Now, did you have control as far as what songs you wanted released on a single? Was there control?
We fought for it. We fought hard for it. We managed to get back to the hop on there, which Dave and I wrote. But it was tough, you know.
They owned the company.
They owned the company.
They had
you
the
know.
final say.
That's right. So
For example, the choosing of You're a Thousand Miles Away, the Heartbeat song, that winds up a B-side of one of your songs. on the
yeah,
Justin
that
USA.
was that was Cal. No,
Bernie Bennett
Bernie
of
Bennett
Cameo produced that
produced
for us.
that. Yeah.
Again, with the ballad on the one side and the up-tempo song on the other,
Twisted
people
USA, yeah.
really seem to love that.
Right, and that went really big, rhythm and blues, 1,000 Miles Away.
With the Dick Clark Caravan of Stars, how many different cities did you go?
We
go
never
through?
went on the Dick Clark
Really?
Caravan of Stars.
Never.
We did the Alan Freed shows, and what was the guy who owned the circuses?
Irvin Feld, who he used to run shows back in those days, like Alan Freed, and hire a bunch of the new acts. And he used to call his shows America's Greatest Teenage Recording Stars. And he made a fortune there. He made so much money, his grandson later told me, when we met him many years later, he made so much money with those shows that he was able to buy the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus.
How about that? Really sounds.
And that's what his career was after that.
So you record a brand new single in a recording session and it's released. You go on tour? Do you travel around the country? Where are you at this point?
Well, they hooked us up with Nat Siegel, who was a local guy who booked, the
old club, Sciola's, the Celebrity Room, Latin Casino. Chubby's over across the
yes.
river.
Right, so we had plenty of places to hone our act. And then he hooked up with GAC, Roz Ross, who was a tremendous talent agent. And she got us all the tours through the ballrooms in the Midwest. We would travel, the Divine Ballroom in Milwaukee, and the Surf, where the Buddy Holly thing happened.
Sure.
And actually, we were the next act in,
Really? that
right
much?
after that happened, yeah. Which is pretty sad,
Was a somber night.
yeah.
Who were some of the major acts that you worked with?
Oh, everybody.
Yeah,
You
everybody that you could remember from back then, Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, the Everly Brothers, and everybody that had a one-hit wonder back then, we worked with all of them.
When you have a repertoire of your songs, when you look at the Billboard charts and you see all the singles that you have, you got to feel good about it.
Yeah, we do.
It's not like at the hop and see you later. You know what I
Right.
mean?
No.
It's a whole
No,
list there.
It was enough to give us a very lucrative, long-time career.
Now you've released the greatest hits packages, and you've been on other compilations and stuff.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Ever in motion pictures at all? Any films?
Yeah, we did 2 motion pictures. We did Let the Good Times Roll. That was a documentary that Richard Nader, who was a promoter, he put together. And we did Let's Rock with Julius LaRosa,
Oh, okay.
which was supposed to be, Phyllis Newman was her debut in the movies. And it was supposed to come out in all these big theaters. And then they had that riot up in Boston. And just as the release came out. So Ed Sullivan canceled us on his show, and the movie opened in small theaters across the country.
And of course, the songs have been in other movies. Rock and Roll Is Here to Stay was in Christine. The car
Plymouth?
would play Rock and Roll Is Here to
That
Stay. then
Plymouth,
kill
the 57.
somebody.
Yeah.
57 Plymouth. Yeah, okay.
And it was just the most recent, I believe, was in The Singing Detective.
Oh,
I guess you never
terrible
heard.
movie. It played for a week. It was over.
Now you have copies of this in your files, like on DVD. Do you have a copy for yourself?
So I have a couple. I have Let's Rock, and I have Let the Good Times Roll. I was going to get Christine, but singing car doesn't thrill me.
A whole new generation seems to know about that 57 Plymouth.
Yeah,
you know.
I know.
So the recording career continued after Swan. What were some of the companies that you recorded with?
Let's see.
We were with Jamie Guide, or was that before Swan? No, that was after Swan. Mercury for one release.
Went to Love Records.
Oh yeah, that was a subsidiary of Capitol. We were on that for a little bit, and that was about it.
Okay. How about 12-inch albums?
Pardon me?
Albums, 12-inch vinyl albums?
One
Yeah.
that was released.
Yeah.
We had to share it with Freddie Cannon. It was released on Swan.
Right.
So it was Freddie Cannon and us.
Was it like Danny the Juniors and then Freddie Cannon, or he was on one side and you were on the other?
Well, he sang it on one of our records. We did Twisted All Night Long.
Yes.
And at the end, Freddie Cannon comes
He
in.
jumps in, yeah.
So we did that copulation song together, and so they decided to put him on the LP.
Yeah, those were the days when albums really weren't important.
No, the single. The single
Singles.
hit.
The
Right,
single was
exactly.
what the record companies considered the quickest and biggest money makers.
Biggest bang for the buck. I think at that time, 69, 79 cents. Now, of all the years of your recordings, I'm sure you looked over your entire songbook and you said, you know what, we didn't record a Christmas song. And I know you released a Christmas song a couple
Yeah,
of
we
years
did.
ago.
We recorded "Oh Holy Night," and I think what's the B-side?
And the A side was Candy Cane Sugary Plum,
Right.
which was on Swan, and the B side was
Oh
Oh Holy Night, and we got some play with it around Christmas time. It never was a giant record.
And then in the 70s, we started to record ourselves on our own label. And we did quite a bit for Roller Coaster Records. Is it Roller Coaster?
Yeah, Roller Coaster, which is an English firm, and we also are on, oh boy.
Beach music.
Yeah, we're recording something that's called Carolina Beach Music, which is not like the Beach Boys. It's more of they do the shag to it down in the Carolinas.
Yeah, it runs from like Delaware all the way down to Georgia and into Tennessee, actually.
Beautiful.
Shag, and we've had some great records.
The beach music,
Number
the people-
3,
yeah.
number 1.
Yeah.
We've had a few.
That whole Carolina coastline, they love the beach music. I can take you back a few years ago, the fact that you fellas helped me in my career when I would play the records, and then you guys turned the tables and you wind up having your own radio show on a station, WCAM.
CAM.
I
that's
remember
right.
that. I was
Yeah.
driving around in my car, and I think on a Saturday night I heard you fellas with your 2-hour radio program, the Danny the Junior Show, and I said, my God, look at that.
Yep.
They're on the radio.
Yep.
He said, if they can do it, I can do
That's
it better.
exactly right. Which brings us really to current today, and I believe your show's been on the air for at least 10 years or more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're with station Cruising 92,
Right.
WVLT, and you have a show on Saturday.
Also on a lot of stations, Frank. You know.
Yeah, we're on about, right now we're on 12 different stations besides WVLT, which I send the show out once a week to them. And some of them are internet stations, and some of them are regular celestial radio.
Very nice. So the show on Saturday gets aired by satellite or different podcasts? Is that what
Well, no, it's on satellite. It's on the internet. It's on almost every day of the week, as a matter of fact, somewhere.
Yeah, you can find it. It's actually archived up in Boston.
Wonderful.
What's the station, Frank? Do you know? Offhand? It's hard to keep track.
I don't remember what the station. But you can listen to it anytime on that station.
It becomes a mesh of time after a while. Pat Delsey, who's the owner of WSSJ, WCAM, when I worked for him as a young boy, He said to me, you're in your early 20s and everything is documented in your life. He said, but you get to a certain age, everything becomes a mesh of time, and that's what's happening here. All these different things that you've done.
Absolutely.
How about awards and stuff? You got the gold record for At the Hop.
For 1958, we were Playboy's Group of the Year,
Yeah, beautiful.
and we got a Walk of Fame, and what else?
Yeah, we're in the Vocal Group Hall of Fame, not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Vocal Group Hall of Fame has all vocal groups, and we're in that one. Let's see, what else do we?
We had the key to the city of Miami. I mean, you get a lot of things in a lot of places. It's hard to remember.
Yes, I know. It's like it becomes a mesh of time. The hit records, though, in that time period. When you were the Juvenirs, did you ever think about being what they call the doo-wop singer, vocal harmony, or you didn't know you were going to be more than that with instrumentation behind you?
Well, no, we thought instrumentation all the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you didn't want just vocal harmony?
No.
I see. Okay.
We'd sing our vocal harmonies to an orchestra behind us. And we kind of liked it better like that.
So you, at home, you practiced being a singer even before you joined the group?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Never realizing that you would be joining the Juvenirs.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I was a little boy. They used to stand me up on a chair, and I would sing Because of You. And
The Tony Bennett song.
yeah, the
Yes,
Tony Bennett
right.
song. I was
Sure.
about 7, 8 years
Yeah,
old.
that was.
And people would clap, you know. We'd be down the shore at a motel or whatever, and they would hear it, and they would come around, and I'd get a big round of applause. And then my Uncle John, he would take me down the bar, stand me on the bar, and I'd sing, and he'd get free drinks.
How about you, Frank? As a young boy, did you practice in front of the mirror, or?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I wanted to be an accountant.
Really?
But once I got to singing with the other guys, I said, "Boy, this is quite a lot of fun." And then all of a sudden, we got a hit record at the age of 17. He was 60.
Right out of the gate, though.
Yeah,
Right
first
out
one.
of the gate. Number one, 8 weeks. That's.
Yeah, it was mind-boggling
Yeah.
to us, you know.
Yeah.
Because we were kids, we just want to hang on the corner with the guys and, you know, go to school, whatever. All of a sudden, you're on the road, and you're got
You were really thrown into this when you think
you have
about
to. You have
it.
to.
What were the ages, by the way? How old were you guys?
16.
And I was 17, and did the same with the other two guys. And, you know, like 1 week we're hanging around on the corner, the next week we're working with Fats Domino.
Yeah, right. It had to be quite an amazing time.
It was tremendous.
So many people dream of this in my world. They'll come to me, how do you go about being a radio DJ broadcaster? And I give them the tools and I tell them how to go about it. And then I'll see them 2 years later, hey, my kids will laugh at me, my wife will laugh. Nah, I thought you could make like $1 million in 1 year. Well, it doesn't work that way.
No.
And I can only tell you from my end, in the programming and music director business, each radio station gets hit with 100 new releases a week.
Yeah.
So back then in '57, the piles of records that they went through and the music directors, they listen and listen and listen. The fact that it got on the air, made the top 20, number one, 8 weeks. It's a phenomenon.
Right.
It's an absolute
Well, before we
phenomenon.
went on Dick Clark, though, in Buffalo there was a guy called the Hound Dog, and he started to break
Local
the record.
disc jockey.
Yeah, because his show went from Buffalo to Florida.
Right.
So
On the coast, through a drift?
Yeah, right down the coast.
I see.
So we had to fly out, do some record hops for him. And the record, eventually, if there were no Dick Clark, this record would have worked its way around the country and did something.
Would it have stayed Do the Bop, though, if Dick was not influenced?
No.
If Dick wasn't involved, if Dick did not influence?
Oh, yes, it would have.
Yeah,
It would have stayed Do the Bop.
Do the Bop, sure.
Yeah, it would have stayed.
But you know,
So the hops, at that time, I believe the only rock and roll we had here in Philadelphia was WIBG. Am I right? So
That's
you
right.
had Joe Niagara and, of course, High Lit, Bill Wright Sr. doing the record hops, per se.
Right, we did all their record hops.
Yes.
We would get into the car with Matty Singer, and he would
Well, he was ABC Paramount, so there you
Yeah,
go.
he was
Yeah.
a humdinger, yeah.
he would hop us from hop to hop. We would cover 5 or 6 of them in one night.
No helicopter?
No,
You traveled by car?
by car, yeah.
And Wednesday nights, Fridays, and Saturdays, or?
Yeah, well, whenever they had them, we would
We'd do 'em,
Then
yeah.
they would play the record.
And we'd take us up to Allentown, do Gene K's, you know, I mean,
Gene Colbert, sure, Gene K.
Yeah.
WKAP in Allentown.
Right.
AB, I'm sorry, AB Allentown.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we wanted this thing to happen. We really wanted. Once it started to take off, and we flew to Buffalo and came back, we really wanted it to happen. So we worked as hard as we could doing record hops, and we really got lucky because after at the hop was a big record. Record hops lingered for the next 6 years.
That's right.
And everybody who had a record hop had they'd play at the hop.
What was the song?
Yeah.
What I Did the Dances, the same
Right,
thing.
they'd play at the hop.
Yeah.
So it continued to get played for the next 6 years.
Wonderful.
It was amazing.
It
you know?
is.
I mean, who gets it? The Beatles are the
That's
only one
true.
who got that, you know?
Hits and hits.
Yeah.
I always say in my shows, where does that time fly? When you're having fun. And I got to say, I really enjoyed this today, guys. I really did.
Was
What a
our
great
pleasure.
time spending time with Danny the
Absolutely,
Juniors,
Bob.
Frank Buffet, Joe Terry.